My name is Elizabeth Wilson, and I am the Chief Executive Officer of the Georgia Micro Enterprise Network, GMEN. GMEN is a statewide association, membership association, a network of business development organizations who provide training and capital and access to business services all across the state of Georgia. We serve as a catalyst for economic development for small and micro and underserved businesses across the state of Georgia. GMEN was founded over 25 years ago, back in 1997, as an informal group gathering, an informal group of people coming together to talk about the needs of small businesses. Business development organizations were invited to come together around lunch, just because we saw that we needed to collaborate more, to create partnerships, to really be able to serve Georgia's business community. One of the first things we did in the first early years of GMEN was to identify the need to create a separate organization to serve and to be that one hub organization for the many business development organizations that were coming together. Up to about 75 organizations were really kind of in the early stages of GMEN, who all wanted to collaborate, to partner, and to create this initial organization. So GMEN was created after about 3 or 4 years of us just meeting together informally. One of the good things was at that time, the Association for Enterprise Opportunity, a national organization providing business development services and support, had a small grant for $5,000, which we applied for collectively and received that $5,000 grant. That started to bring us together around lunch, where we were able to provide something beyond cookies. It was also the first opportunity for us to be able to think about capacity building and turning our very informal association into a formal organization. So GMEN was created from those early, initial meetings, lunch and learns, and after a few years, we were able to create a separate 501c3 and hire an executive director. Because we created this association, we were then able to continue to advocate on behalf of the group and receive statewide funding in the early ages that also helped us to build the capacity of the organization, and also to create one organization that could fund several and all of the organizations within the network. That lasted for about 10 years. Under the first executive director of GMEN, Patricia Williams, we were able to support all of the organizations by providing training, access to grants, helping organizations who were very new in the field to go to trainings around the country. We were able to provide initial small grants for some of our members who were in the association. And the network began to formalize, and for 10 years we were able to receive that statewide funding. After that time, of course, everything changes and the political environment changed. So that state funding went away. We had been dependent upon that funding to support all of the organizations within the association, and GMEN went dormant for a few years. We lost the executive director, and we only had that one source of funding. So once that went away, GMEN kind of went away for a little while. After that initial funding went away, our executive director went away, GMEN kind of went away for a few years, but there was still interest, and some of those initial organizations still wanted the organization to come back. So I was brought on as a consultant to see how we could bring GMEN back from the ashes. What I was able to do was, again, start small, take one of those $5,000 grants and get the organization back on a roll to providing training, to be able to bring us together for various initiatives, and to really take back on that role of being the central organization for business development in the state of Georgia. From that early stage, we've grown significantly. we've taken on the role of not only supporting business development organizations, but pretty much because we were prepared right before the pandemic, we also started providing direct services to entrepreneurs. So we were supporting both business development organizations as well as small businesses. And that helped us to kind of create the robust platform that we are today, being able to be one site, a hub again, for distributing resources, to be able to be that site that can gather data, as well as providing best practices across the state of Georgia to help build a strong foundation for business growth. I always remember one key moment. It will always stick out in my mind because it was pivotal for GMEN. We had just become residents of what we're now known as the Russell Innovation Center for Entrepreneurs. At the time, there was not much here. There were very few walls. Everything was kind of under construction, and at the time, entrepreneurs were still coming here for training, but it was all kind of brand new. We came in as one of the first partners with the Russell Center because that's what we do. We try to collaborate and partner with business development organizations and support them as well. So we brought our training and our ability to provide online training to the Russell Center before the pandemic. I remember I think it was a Thursday night, we had a full room, probably over 100 entrepreneurs who were receiving training on how to take their businesses online. By that Monday, the city had closed down. All the businesses had closed down. All of the restaurants had closed. And here we were holding this opportunity to take businesses from retail, in-person shops to online stores. And that's kind of where I think we started to shine, that we had the skills, we had the ability, we had the tool to say, you can create a store and a website, just come through this class. So that was pivotal in our ability to be ready, to be that ready organization. So what happened? People started saying, go to GMEN, give it to GMEN, let GMEN do it. And from that point, philanthropy started to come to us, municipalities started to come, business development organizations asked if they could come and collaborate with us. It really made a difference. It helped businesses to survive during the pandemic. It helped us to realize that overnight all businesses could become micro businesses. It helped us to really also see kind of the back end of the store. And so many businesses were not able to shift quickly because they didn't have the capacity. They didn't have their books together to be able to apply for assistance. They needed that extra level of support. So we really ramped up our services to make sure that we were able to provide high-touch services, one-on-one technical assistance, business training that was hybrid, both in person as well as online, and helped us to focus on the things that would help businesses not only to survive the pandemic, but to be able to really thrive once they came through the pandemic. And here we are on the other side of it. We've seen the need for organizations like GMEN who really can be catalysts for economic development, who really can serve a variety of constituents, who can bring other organizations together under one umbrella, and we've done that successfully through our SBA hubbing of the Community Navigator Pilot Program. We also know that what we learned, we can teach. So that's one of the things that we want to do in the future, to be able to replicate our model, to make sure that other communities can take advantage of not only our expertise, but also our experiences. Our focus today is making sure that businesses stay ready, that businesses are able to tap into opportunities that coming now faster than ever before, that businesses see themselves in a global arena and not just as local storefronts, because when things change, there are businesses that have been able to survive and some have not. We also are focusing on legacy businesses that 10, 15, 20, 30 years they were able to, have a strong footprint here in Georgia. But once the pandemic came, it affected them, and they've been struggling ever since. Our focus is also on the new economy with gig workers and those who are creating businesses every single day because of the new opportunities through the internet. We want to support those businesses too, as well as the need to create generational wealth. We've been hit by more than pandemics. For some, they've lived in a pandemic state of mind for over 400 years here across the Southeast. So our hope is to really start to make a change in how wealth is distributed across the country, to give everyone who desires to an opportunity to be in business, to access capital for that business, to access contracts for that business, and not have systemic problems that have existed for so long keep them from growing. We know that if we continue to be that organization that's sitting at the table advocating for small businesses, whether they be in businesses created by returning citizens, businesses created by for immigrants or refugees, or businesses created by persons with disabilities, businesses created by young entrepreneurs who are graduating and are deciding that they want to start a business instead of going into traditional corporate work. We think that Georgia, that the Southeast, can be a solution to many of the problems that we see across the country by providing equitable training opportunities, equitable capital access, and being really culturally appropriate in providing these services so people feel comfortable in knowing that this is a place that they can bring their business to grow and operate. Our future looks really bright because we know that what we've been able to do here, we can take across the Southeast. Recently, GMEN was appointed the co-chair on behalf of the Association for Enterprise Opportunity to provide services across the Southeast, 10 states in the Southeast. We know that there's a lot of migration now back to the South, and a lot of people see this as an opportunity to grow their businesses, particularly because Atlanta constantly has been identified as the fastest growing location for women-owned businesses, for minority-owned businesses, for businesses that are in the creative space. It's the new Hollywood. So businesses are coming here and people are migrating back to the South. What we want to do is create an environment where those businesses can also grow, where we're not just focused on creating jobs alone through large corporations, but that small businesses can have that same opportunity to be innovative and be strategic in growth. Because there are so many opportunities now with the infrastructure bill and with new federal funds that are coming to the states, this is a perfect time for businesses to really stand up and create jobs. It might not be as many jobs, but small businesses can create 1, 2, 3, 10, 50, 100 jobs and still provide really localized services. So we at GMEN feel that we have the skills here that we can take to the other cities across the Southeast. We've done it before with some of our other pilot programs. So we are now willing to kind of stretch ourselves beyond our comfort borders here in Georgia. We already see the opportunities, and we're raising our hands again, as people always say, give it to GMEN. Here we are, we're ready to grow. When I think of successes, I think of both small businesses as well as business development organizations, because both of those have been historically in our wheelhouse. Some of the business development organizations that I feel we've been able to really impact over the years is access to capital. We gave them their first grant to get started. They were just a startup organization, and they've now become one of the largest CDFIs across the Southeast. I think here where we made a decision to come into the Russell Center as one of the early partners and partnered in every phase along their journey. And now they are pretty much are taking on this role of being the site for Black business development in the Southeast and really across the nation. There's only one Russell Center, and we're happy to have been here in the early stages of that development as well. With the Refugee Women's Network, we help them to get started, and they have been doing this work over 20 years as well. So we're excited that we've been able to support business development organizations and community development organizations. We're also, just for the last about 3 or 4 years, been working directly with entrepreneurs. And that's exciting to us too, that we've been able to kind of put our hands to the plow, working with small businesses as they grow. I'm always excited to share the work that we're doing with returning citizens. One, I won't give his name, but he came to one of our trainings that we were having just to plug in his phone. He was thinking at the time, what can I do to get rearrested, to go back to jail? As he was sitting in our training session, he stood up and said, somebody's going to need to help me today, or I'm going to do something to go back to jail. He really needed help. So of all of the people in the room, we happened to have a speaker that day who said, I'm going to help you. Well, that speaker came to us and said, I want to partner with this young man. I want to help him, and I want you all to help me help him. What we were able to see happen was transformational. Within a 3 to 4 month period of time, working with that gentleman who wanted to help this entrepreneur, we were able to create a certified business that was then able to come right here within this facility that we're at to begin to learn how to do wiring and begin to really develop his own business. That was just a few years ago. And I'm excited to know that that gentleman, because of our working with him and providing support and training and grants and capital, his business is now quite successful, making over 6 figures. He likes to come back and give us updates on how many contracts he now has. He says this is the first time that he's been able to provide Christmas gifts for his family in over 20 years. He usually would just steal something, but now he's actually bought all of the Christmas gifts for the family members. He has his own home. He has his own truck that he uses, and he keeps the business plan that he made here during our work on his phone. Whenever he shows it to people, he said he gets additional work. So that's just one story that makes me happy, seeing that a person can go from no skills at all in business, no product at all, but through connection, through support, through access to capital to grow that business, through encouragement, it can change not only the directory for that one individual, but now his children see him in a different light. Now he's no longer a part of that society that people say, they can't make it. He's not only made it, he's really created an example for how other businesses can be 6-figure businesses within a short period of time, hire people, and become full-fledged citizens and business owners. One of the best pieces of advice that I ever received was to partner, to collaborate, to work together, to come in and listen and learn from those who have already done what you're interested in doing. GMEN came into this field as a collaborative organization supported by individuals who wanted to work together. And 25 years later, we're still doing that. We still have some of the same individuals who came together for that first lunch and learn, who came together around really just conversations. They're still a part of our association. Some of those same business development organizations are still working together. We're still able to see that that early work has made a difference for the field and the industry as a whole. So one of my first things that I would encourage anyone to do is learn how to collaborate, to find partners, to find similar organizations who are like yours, and not to see them as competitors, but really to see how strong together we can change the world. Black history is the history of Black business. It's the history of Black inventors. For so much of our history, people were able to invent, but they were not able to see profit from their inventions. We see that people have always had entrepreneurial desires. They've wanted to do better for their families, but they have been pigeonholed into working into low-wage jobs or just jobs in general. We see Black history as an opportunity for people to expand their thinking, to really take on the thoughts that their ancestors would have wanted to do, but now here we are being able to build upon what we've learned from those who paved the way. Particularly here in Georgia, we have a price to pay. I think because this is the history that Dr. Martin Luther King started right here in Atlanta. He was born here. And we have a responsibility to keep his dream alive. With Black History Month, there should be no excuses because there's so many opportunities that are coming to people this month. Even if you just start this month, by the end of the year, you'll see you're making history yourself. Black history is a history of not just African Americans, it's America's history and it's the world's history. And we should tap into all of it. It's time for us to kind of catch up, to do greater works, to really take all that we've learned and all that's been poured into us by the generations and really let this be the time that we expand and do even more and greater works. I am inspired by individuals who started small and grew businesses, started small and have created industries, started small and created organizations. One of my mentors is Connie Evans, who was one of the first individuals who even created this field that we call micro-enterprise. Back 30, 40 years ago, she was at that table and she created an industry that still exists today. I was there in the early stages when she was providing direct training, and I think I'm stronger in business today because I had access to learn at her feet. Also, individuals like Mr. Russell, every day we get to walk by his visuals and his pictures that his family has provided to encourage entrepreneurs to keep going, to start small, but have a big vision that you want to follow. Valerie Daniels Carter, she is the largest African-American franchisee in the country, and she's one of my mentors as well. Excited to know that she's still doing great work around the country. Mac Wilborn, another of the franchisees here in Georgia. Excited to know that he's still accessible and he's available for those of us who can really sit and learn from him. There are so many others who, some are nameless. They've just provided wonderful training or great books. Dr. Dwanda Kunjufu was one of the first individuals. I read his book and turned into a person who wanted to provide training and business development to organizations, because I saw in his book he was able to kind of create a pathway for that knowledge, not only at the university level, but also at the community level. So I've had so many people who I've learned from. Even I've learned a lot from small businesses. One young lady I remember over probably 20 years ago, she had the best name for a business, and I still remember it today. It was a hairstyle business for children, and it was called Cuts and Curls for Boys and Girls. I said, now, if I haven't learned one thing, it's now to really come up with a great name for a business. And I learned that from that young entrepreneur. So I think I'm going to always be a learner, always having someone that can teach me, and always hopefully being able to share what I've learned with others.